Good morning. Good morning to the Fish Fams, the Cryptic Clubs, the Ghost Gangs, the Fire Fanatics. It's Nikachu for, we're at day 8 now with coffee and MTG with me. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, I don't have my, where's my iPad? Where are my tools? Hold on. I don't have to leave anywhere. You're just gonna come with me. I need my tools. I was a little bit rushed. I heard Chubby Meatball's about to puke this morning. Look, Chubby Meatball. Are you gonna puke? You gonna puke? She's making the puking sounds. I don't know if you ever own a cat, but where's Nikachu's tools? There's Nikachu's tools. Good morning. Got a little confused there. There we go. All right, we're back. I got my stuff. Good morning, the Cody Hope. Oh, with a beautiful new avatar. Cody Hope's upped his avatar game. Chubby Meatball, you better not puke. She pukes. I don't know if you have a puking cat, but we do. And the thing about the puking cat is they never like to puke on like the flat floor. They have to find something like with material on it, like the sofa or the bed or something. Puking on my pillow. So I had a bit of a strange, confusing emergency earlier. All right. So let's get ourselves set up. Where am I today? So good morning to everybody. Tomorrow to Kyle, to Casarino, to Gabriel. Just finished watching you crush a burn deck. Yep, absolutely. That was a lot of fun. And you know what? I think even if they were not playing with Loris, I forgot about that. I put it in my title by accident. But if they were, I still think I would have crushed the hell out of them. That's just how I built my deck. I built my deck to beat the those Loris burn decks. Good morning, Niels. Good morning. Good morning to Inks. Oh, Inks has a puking cat too. Yeah, I know. It's annoying. And it's like there's nothing unhealthy about Chubby Meatball. It's just that she pukes like, I don't know, once every 3 weeks, something like that. Whatever. We might experience the puke this morning. Hopefully we just experience the coffee. And they puke in one spot, then go to the next spot and puke. That's right. That's what they do, Daniels. They want to spread the love all over the floor. Well, if they're on the floor, that is. Good morning, Lassie. Lassie from Germany. Good morning, Thomas. Good morning, Chris. Are you still updating your pimped out paper deck? Little Bird 965 asked. Honestly, no, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. What happened is once Modern Horizons hit, it gave us like the Horizon lands, Force of Negation, Collector Oof. But the point is that it was for the first time that you had a really good reason to go green because you now have Waterlog Grove and also Collector Oof. And then I started thinking, like, do I want to buy every foil card that's in green that's a potential sideboard card? It seemed like a very scary thought, and at the same time, I was playing a lot less paper Magic than I ever was in my life, and I still had to buy the Force Negations, which cost an arm and a leg. And I decided from there on out, I should probably slow down on the pimping out my paper stuff, because like getting everything in foil and Japanese, I don't mind, so long as it was like mono blue, or it was very clearly a certain set number of cards in the toolbox. But now like it was a whole new world. Maybe we could go blue-red. Maybe we go blue-green. Maybe we stay with mono blue. I don't know. So from Modern Horizons on, I actually was full stop on pimping out my Merfolk deck. And actually, for the most part, I've been acquiring just the normal paper cards over the foil cards because I don't know where this deck is going. Simic was actually quite playable for the entire year, but maybe it was blue-red. Maybe blue-red was the deck that was going to take off. So like, what if I bought into the blue-green cards and all of a sudden blue-red was the best deck to jump up? I would say also, I had a lot more satisfaction playing with foils when I was playing with them on like a weekly basis. I used to go to my local game store. I used to go to multiple local game stores every single week. And ever since I went deeper and deeper and deeper with my YouTube channel, I was not. I mean, I had it was restricting the time that I was going out to the local game stores, and basically now I'm only going to big local events and GPs. So I would say that if you're going to foil out your deck, you got to make sure that you're using it, because hey, I above all people know that playing with foils is fun. It is more fun to play in foil. I will totally admit that, and I'm not going to take it back, even though I'm going to paper. Playing with, at least with the blue foils, playing in foil is fun. It is a lot of fun. It's way more fun than playing with non-foil. But you got to use the cards. So when I'm going out on a regular basis, it is just, I mean, I don't want to say it's justifying it, but like I'm getting use out of the foils. I'm getting use out of the foils. So Inks sort of says, you know, but all the foils are bent. Well, I mean, depends how you're taking care of them. Depends. I have to say, like, if you're playing with your deck on a very regular basis, it usually like takes the bend out of a lot of foils. Even if you bought them, if you bought foils bent, it will get unbent as you start using them. I will say the quality of the new foil. And there was another thing that I didn't like. When I say like quality of the new foils are like getting, how do I put it? They were getting dull. I love the old foils. The old foils are gorgeous. They're so good. They look, I don't know how to put it, they're richer in color and they look deeper. They're very nice. Whereas like the newer foils over the last, say like around the Ixalan era and a little bit around there, like like I would say a year before and after that, like where's the foiling? I don't see any foil here. You know, it doesn't look that much different. It looks like sort of a copperish card compared to other ones. So I was like a little unsatisfied with the newer foils, but the old foils are really gorgeous. So anyway, those are my opinions on foils. I have gone like full stop on the foils because I'm just not playing with the paper cards nearly as much as I used to, due to university, YouTube channel, and so on. But you know, I still have nothing against foils and stuff like that. And I have not sold any. I've not sold a single foil. I've still held on. There's some I should sell. I should probably sell Remand. When is Remand going to see play in the Modern Merfolk deck again? I don't know. I don't think so. But I haven't sold anything, so I'm still holding on to them. Frankly, I'm going to die with them, in my opinion, because my Merfolk deck has been such an integral like point of my life, that I cannot see myself selling any of the staple cards. These Masterpiece Ether Vials and the Master Waves and Foil Japanese Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, Silver Gill Adept, I'm going to the grave with these cards. I mean, I made a YouTube channel out of it. I've made a lot of influence. I've helped a lot of people with this deck. I've had a lot of great memories with the deck. It's now priceless to me, so I can't sell any of those cards, even if I wanted to. I'm going to the grave with them. Pancho says, good morning, Nikachu. Just one question. Do you think True Name Nemesis is okay to unban in Modern? Well, here's the problem with True Name Nemesis and getting it unbanned in Modern. It's not banned. It's not banned in Modern. It's just not legal because it was never printed in a standard legal set. You see, Modern is composed of all the standard legal sets. It excludes print direct to commander cards. And that's where True Name Nemesis was born. It was born in some commander pre-constructed deck or something like that. I don't remember, but it was a print to commander card. So it's actually not something you can unban. You have to first print it into the format. So it has to be printed in Modern Horizons or something like that. But if you want to talk about like, is it fine for True Name Nemesis to be in the format? I completely believe so. I don't even know if I'll play it, but I don't even know if it's going to be that good. Like, there's so many answers against it. Like, even Plague Engineer right now is like the perfect answer against True Name Nemesis. It would see play, but it would not be as devastating as people think, because Modern is so hostile that you so easily lose on turn 3, 4, and 5 that True Name Nemesis doesn't have any real impact. It's a card that you can beat. Legacy proved that. Like at first, everyone was losing to True Name Nemesis, but then they started playing with more Edict effects and cards that make all your creatures -1/-1, and then realized, you know what, True Name Nemesis is beatable. You might have to adjust your removal suite for it, but it's still a very beatable card. And I just think there's so many decks in Modern that completely like not interact with you, that you have. It won't be the impact that people think. It's not like even the Stoneblade decks right now, like who cares? If you can't beat a Batter Skull that comes on the battlefield and attacks you, then it doesn't matter if it was put on a True Name Nemesis either. Most of the time you're just interacting with the Batter Skull itself if you have to. Or the germ token. Like right now, I think just having the extra step of putting, like, because a lot of people are scared that it's going to be jammed in Stoneblade, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. What's end up going to happen is True Name Nemesis is going to come out, then you're going to then you're going to, like, I don't know, Stoneblade in your Batter Skull, and then you're going to die. That's what's going to happen to the Stoneblade players. So True Name isn't even going to be that big of a deal, even if it's jammed in the Stoneblade decks. So that's my opinion. A lot of people are terrified of the card. I think it's too slow for mod. I don't want to say it's gonna see play, but it's not gonna be the overpowering thing that people are assuming it's gonna be if it were to be modern playable. I think it can be. I think you can very easily throw it in modern. So we got a super chat. Great super. Thank you very much for the super chat, RG. Thank you very much. All right. After playing Merfolk for some time, I was thinking about investing in Eldrazi. What do you think? And how does it sit in the current meta? Big fan. You are in luck because later today I'm going to have an interview and we're going to have a nice conversation with Eldrazi Master Laplacian. We're going to record an interview that hopefully will be up either tomorrow or the day after that. And he's the Eldrazi Master, and I'd love to ask him where he thinks Eldrazi is in the metagame today, because he has moved away from it. However, Eldrazi I think it looks good. Like, first off, like, this is a great archetype to buy into just in the long run because it's so powerful. You get access to Chalice of the Void, and you have so much mana for it. Chalice of the Void for Merfolk is basically only good on 1 and sometimes on 2. But Eldrazi you've got the Tron mana, so you can play it on 1, you can play it on 2, you can play it on 3, you can play it on 4. You can lock your opponents out with mana that, like, most decks running Chalice don't have available. Like, even Mono Red Prison can't even do that. This is what Eldrazi is. It's an aggro Tron deck plus Mono Red Prison. Those Mono Red Prison effects, because, like, even Mono Red Prison can only play Chalice on 1 or 2 realistically. But Eldrazi, like, the sky's the limit because they have so much mana. It's really, really powerful. They break so many rules. Okay, they're breaking the fast mana rule with not only the Tron lands, but Eldrazi Temple. Like, I think this is like a modern bannable card. Who else has access to City of Traders in Modern? No one has access to this card. This is a legacy power level card that can only be played in the Eldrazi decks. So this is why Eldrazi was on top for so long, at the top of the trophy leaderboard, like even as long as last year. It's been such a high power influence deck, and it's so flexible because they play with Karn the Great Creator. They have access to, like, basically any artifact. We're talking about how Lurrus is an extra 8th card in the starting hand of so many decks that are jamming a companion. If Eldrazi gets to resolve Karn the Great Creator, they have access to the 8th card, the 9th card, the 10th card. They have access to basically every card that they could possibly want. That's why they banned Mycosynth Lattice, because even without that lock combo, Eldrazi has just access to so many other cards. Now you look at, like, so many of the most successful decks in Modern have perfect information. They have access to their opponent's hand, either in the form of Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, Vendilion Click, Kite Sail Freebooter. They have Thought Knot Seer, so they also have that hand disruption aspect. So Eldrazi I think, is an excellent deck to buy into, and, like, even if they banned a card, I don't even know what random card you would ban, like maybe Karn the Great Creator, Eldrazi Temple, it would still be a really powerful deck that would always have a place in the metagame, and I think it's underrepresented right now. I think it's badly underrepresented. I think a lot of the Eldrazi players that used to play this deck in and out, they've just sort of, like, shelved it for now because they think that the companions are better. But really, I think Eldrazi is, like, still one of the best decks in the format. They can also play with Cavernous Souls. So, like, they have such a good way of interacting with opponent while also not being able to be interacted with, because that fast mana, uncounterable creatures. If I were to talk about everything that makes a deck so powerful, like, Eldrazi just nails all of it, like, basically. So I actually think Eldrazi is one of the better decks to buy into. And also, I think it also survives. If anyone was scared about a card getting banned, I think this deck is also very resistant to getting hate, like to becoming like I want to say like it's resistant to getting banned out, because even if you ban another card, even Eldrazi Temple, this deck still looks like it's gas. It still looks like it's really strong gas. And has even more toolbox options with like expedition map. So you can expedition map into your Eldrazi Temple, into your blast zone, and as they like print more land cards, you always have access to it. It's like it's really strong. So I hope that was some food for thought. If you're interested into Eldrazi-tron, I think it's a really good deck to buy into. If people are selling out of Eldrazi-tron right now because of the companions, it's probably a good deck to buy into, because when they like ban the companions, I mean Eldrazi-tron is going to be there to scoop up the pieces. For sure, I don't like, even if Eldrazi-tron isn't super tier 1 like the other decks, it's still up there and it's still worth playing. And I still see results out of Eldrazi-tron. It's just not as high in prominence as it used to be. And like I very doubt that they'll ban something like Thought-Knot Seer. It's always going to be some component around the archetype, not any of those core creatures, because none of them are in themselves broken by themselves. So I hope that gave you some confidence. I hope that answered your question. I think it's a very strong deck. Let's see, what do we got here? Good morning, Kyoka66. I see that you're streaming. I've seen some comments on social media that you're a streamer. Tried to jump in, but you were done by the time I looked. Let's see, what do we got here? Conmore says, how good is Karn the Great Creator with Lattice banned? Great. It is great. I hope I semi-answered your question at all. Karn the Great Creator is still definitely a very, very, very good card. And honestly, it's a card that I want to exist in Modern, because artifact strategies just have such an easy way to just completely run away with the format. It's happened so many times in the past. You can say the same with like graveyard decks as well, but we have adequate graveyard hate. There is so much graveyard hate between like Rest in Peace, Grafdigger's Cage, Leyline of the Void, Relic of Progenitus. We have adequate graveyard hate that also can be played by many different players, but we don't have the same with so we don't have the same artifact hate. There's basically like Stony Silence, and the other artifact hate is basically like green or white. So there's a lot of different colors that do not have access to good artifact hate. So I like that Karn the Great Creator, its existence helps put some artifact decks in check. Like, okay, if you really want to play this artifact deck, then you actually have to wait for all the Karn the Great Creator decks to get lower in numbers. And I think that's why we see Hardened Scales Affinity rising up to the challenge of Modern, because not only does it it has a big boost in the form of like the Ozolith and Lurrus, but also the Eldrazi-tron players have been running, like going down in big numbers, and they were like the Karn the Great Creator deck. So I think, I actually like Karn, I think Karn the Great Creator is fantastic even without Lattice, but I also like it just existing to keep reminding any artifact, like there's no fair artifact deck out there, or there are very, very few. I would put Hardened Scales Affinity as like the only fair artifact deck I've ever seen in my life. Every other one is just trying to do really stupid things, just ridiculously stupid things. So I think it's still good in Modern, and also I think it is, I like to see its existence. Good morning, Tux Dev. Would you try Soul Guide Lantern in Azorius Lurrus? Merfolk asks Piotr Wiałkowski. And yes, I would. I could. I've never found the right moment for it, but it's definitely a modern. It's definitely a modern playable card. Definitely a Merfolk playable card, and I would definitely agree it should be in your toolbox. Something I wish I could remember is the name Soul Guide Lantern. When I read it, I know what it is. It is like the pseudo Relic of Progenitus, but when it enters the battlefield, you can immediately exile a card. That's very valuable in today's metagame, especially against a deck like Dredge. Yeah, I wish I could remember. Soul Guide Lantern. Soul Guide Lantern. Gotta remember. Like Lantern Control. Joseph Sokolovsky asks me, are you a good swimmer? I can swim. I don't know if I'm a good, I wouldn't say I'm an expert swimmer. There was like, I don't know, when I took swimming lessons when I was a kid, I graduated from the first level, then I graduated from the second level, then I graduated from the third level, then I got stuck at the fourth level, like my diving sucked or something, they didn't like it, and at some point it was like, do you know what, fuck it, I can swim, I don't sink, I'm not gonna drown, that's it, we don't need any more swimming lessons, we're done there. So and I still can't dive. Like if I try to dive, the water goes straight to my nose, and then I can feel the chlorine enter my brain, and it's just awful. So I still haven't graduated from that fourth rank. Cone Morris says, rank the companions from best to worst. I think Lutri is very underrated. I don't know all the best. I don't know all the companions at the moment. I would say definitely Lurrus is number 1, Yorion is number 2. Gigantha is probably number 3 just because it can be played in enough decks. The problem with Lutri is maybe one day it can be good, maybe one day. But like today there's just not enough playables for it. Like also Lutri depends on a lot of mana, which control decks don't have. Like okay, you can copy things, but you need a lot of mana available. You need enough mana to cast your spell, and then the mana to play the Lutri. And it's just too much mana for Modern. And I think as time goes on, you're not going to have like more time to cast Lutri and your spells. So I think Lutri is accurately rated, at least for Modern's sake. It's might be under, well, I wouldn't say it's underrated for Commander. It got snap banned in Commander because it's just a free card for no reason. Maybe in some other video I can rank them. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't even know the names to all of them. I just vaguely understand the effects, and I know vaguely what some of the clunky ones do, but they don't see play. If the card doesn't see play in Modern, I don't know it exists. Basically, I don't know it exists. CWS has said Storm just can't compete. Your thoughts? Is this bad? Well, the problem for Storm, like the shitty thing for Storm, is it has to dodge so many hate cards. So many hate cards. So Storm's positioning so much depends on when like people aren't playing hate cards anymore. I mean, it has to dodge like Artifact. It needs to dodge prison-like cards. It needs to dodge like these sort of, you can only play like Eidolon of Rhetoric cards, like cards that say you can only play one card per turn. It has to dodge Graveyard Hate. It's like let's do a roll call what Storm has to avoid. Rest in Peace, Grafdigger's Cage, Relic of Progenitus, Soul Guide Lantern, Leyline of the Void. Then there's things like Eidolon of Rhetoric. Then there's like Damping Sphere. Then Chalice of the Void. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, it's ridiculous. I actually think even if Storm is playable, it's like the hardest deck to play because you have to play around so many stupid hate cards, and you have to be like spending most of your resources like Gifts Ungiven to find the right cards to either bounce or destroy them. And do you have all the answers? Do you have answers to every single potential like card? It's difficult. It's very, very difficult for them. So if Caleb Schur says that Storm just can't compete, then maybe he's right. Storm has seen some success. I mean, as of very recently, when things like, I don't know, the big Titan decks were around. I think Storm had some presence when Oko was around, because like things that beat Oko and beat the Titan decks and beat Urza weren't necessarily beating Storm. Like if you were bringing out Artifact Hate and stuff like that, Karn the Great Creator decks and stuff like that, maybe Storm had a presence there, and if people are just trying to goldfish to a Titan win, Storm has a presence there. But like if everyone's gunning for the graveyard or slowing things down with Damping Sphere, I don't know. It gets tough. It's a tough life for Storm, but maybe Storm needs another evolution. You know, the Gift Storm deck was born out of banning Gitaxian Probe. Like the Gift Storm deck existed the entire time Modern was around, and it was never discovered because they were just complacent with this. How do I put it? This Pyromancer Ascension build. They were complacent with the Pyromancer Ascension build for so long, they didn't think that there could be a better version. Maybe there's another way to play Storm. Maybe there's a way of playing Storm that mills the opponent's deck, because there is something like, what's it called, Brain Freeze? So maybe there's an angle to Storm that people haven't explored, and you know, Caleb is more the refiner than the innovator. So because like all the other Storm cards are still there, like they still exist. Like you got like anything that says Storm, you still have Gifts Ungiven, you still have like like you still have a million cantrips, you still have a million rituals. They didn't ban Goblin Electromancer or Baral. So like all the components are there. Maybe it needs to take another angle in order to win. And maybe that angle has to be less dependent on the graveyard. So, but the point is, current Storm might be having a lot of trouble competing, and I can understand why, because there are so many, and they're not stopping the hate cards. They're not stopping the hate cards. There we go. Text Dev, Aria of Flame, probably one like the most important card Storm has. Maybe not enough decks are utilizing it. That completely ignores things like, largely ignores things like, to some degree, Chalice of the Void. It ignores the graveyard hate cards. So there are options. They have to be explored for Storm. They're just not being explored. Remember, like the most important thing in Modern is you gotta adapt. You gotta change. It's tough if it changes your entire core strategy, but you know you gotta do what you gotta do. Do you think Caverns is playable now with Miracles coming up? Absolutely. Cavern of Souls, the value of Cavern of Souls is going up big time. Big time. The Cavern of Souls is like really, really, really good. It's even good right now because I want to utilize it with Chalice of the Void. So I think Cavern of Souls is got to be at least 3x in your build somewhere. 3x Cavern of Souls is going to be very, very important. Like, and to screw those counterbalances. And maybe it's going to be better as a 4x. Maybe we're seeing a point in the metagame where we're going to play 4x if this counterbalance Miracles deck is going to have like super high prominence, because turns out counterbalance, so here's the deal, people. If people didn't know, counterbalance Miracles is coming back. And counterbalance is being played in other control decks. Let me explain why. Turns out Counterbalance is a fantastic combo with Mystical Sanctuary, if I named the land correctly. So you got Counterbalance out, your opponent plays a spell. Counterbalance goes on the stack to flip a card on top. What you do is you fetch whoops, I almost dumped my coffee, just twirling my finger around. You fetch for Mystical Sanctuary, put an instant or sorcery in your graveyard on top of your library equal to the converted mana cost of your opponent's spell. Boom! You completely blow them out. That was a free counter spell. You basically didn't have to spend any resources, and you're going to draw a good card off the top of your deck. So Counterbalance is going to be coming back. So we have to deal with counter spells. Everyone has to deal with counter spells in some way. Cavern of Souls is definitely going to be a big card. You better have it. It's going to be very tough to be playing without the Cavern of Souls. It won't be unplayable if you don't own Cavern of Souls, but you're going to have a huge edge. Like if you have Cavern of Souls and they depend on this counterbalance, you're going to wipe the floor with them. Because they're so dependent on that being the actual counterspell for their deck, and every single card that you cast is going to be basically going to be uncounterable. So yeah, Cavern is going to be very playable with Miracles and other control decks adopting Counterbalance coming up. Good morning, Antoine. Good morning to afternoons. Yes, good morning and afternoon to everybody showing up. Great morning. We had some great questions already. What a great start to this morning. I love it. I love the feedback. Love the great questions. I love that we get more than I understand that I like that we get like a lot of questions more than, say, for example, Merfolk questions. You know, we're getting a variety of things in the chat room. You know, we're getting questions on Storm, on Eldrazi Tron. I'm not a master of all of them, but I have an idea of the environment. Thomas Perry, would Ancient Ziggurat be good inclusion in Historic Simic Merfolk? Absolutely. Yes, I'm going to play 4 of them. I don't know what the exact Merfolk configuration is going to be, but it's going to be really good because it can cast Brazen Borrower. It can cast... I think it's going to be an upgrade from Unclaimed Territory. I think it's going to be an upgrade to that Unclaimed Territory card because that card cannot cast Brazen Borrower. It cannot cast... it cannot always cast Frilled Mystic. So, anyway, Ancient Ziggurat will cast all of that. The only downside is we're not going to be able to cast Petty Theft so well, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem. We should almost always have access to blue mana. So I'm looking at somewhere between 3 to 4, probably leaning on 4 for that card in Historic Simic Merfolk. Niels, do you think Karn the Great Creator can get banned in Modern, or is it possible? Well, anything is possible. Like anything can get banned. I don't think Karn the Great Creator is going to get banned, though. I mean, the answer is anything can get banned under the right circumstances. Like, Wizards will do anything. Wizards banned a lot of cards in Pioneer that I did not think were capable of getting banned, like something like Oath of Nisa. So anything can happen. How likely do I think Karn the Great Creator is to get banned? I think very low. I think Karn the Great Creator is very low to get banned anytime soon. I think all these War of the Spark Planeswalkers were basically built to have some answer to oppressive strategies that normally would require bannings. Maybe wasn't the best way of doing it, because, like, you know, when I look at the factors of Modern that people hate, things like, what's it called, like Blood Moon, Chalice of the Void, Ensnaring Bridge, like these 3 cards, people hate them because they're prison cards. They say you cannot do this anymore, more or less. You're not allowed to do what you're going to do. Those aren't fun cards. It's not so bad when it's something like Eidolon of Rhetoric, or it's something like, how do I put it, even Graveyard Hate, because, like, at least your deck generally will have some way of doing something without the graveyard. But when the card just outright says, you cannot do this anymore, that's what people hate. So maybe those cards weren't designed very well. Things like, I don't know, yeah, like Karn the Great Creator. But I don't think it's likely to get banned at least anytime soon for a very long time. And I actually think Wizards wants this card to have some presence, wants this card to exist. Lassie, do you think Lantern Control still is a good deck? It got pretty cheap because Mox Opal got banned. Lantern Control is now just straight up unplayable because they lost Mox Opal, which was like the most important component in the deck. If you banned Mox Opal at the height of Lantern Control, it would have just killed the deck. So much depended on that deck emptying their hand to make Ensnaring Bridge good. So, and the fact that they lost that fast mana was just key to the deck. The deck completely folded, would have completely folded to the banning of Mox Opal. But not only that, like Karn the Great Creator exists, and that would put a huge hurt on that archetype. So it can't just freely blast through every single deck. Also, not to mention the fact that Wizards is moving in the graveyard-oriented way of Magic, where the graveyard is now a much larger resource than it ever has been before. And Lantern's strategy was dump the good cards in your graveyard, leave you with the garbage in your hand so that you can't do anything. And now that would just end up being too difficult, because they would, even if the card was good, if they put it in the graveyard, you still get value out of that. You still get value out of that card. So Modern has just moved in a way that's basically made Lantern Control unplayable, and that's why you don't even see it anymore. The entire strategy just doesn't work, and there are enough. It lost an integral part of their strategy. The Magic is moving in a way that doesn't make their strategy as effective as it was before. And now there is this like main deckable hate card in a tier 1 deck that basically says their entire deck does nothing. So that's basically it. Love and the love. I can see the love. The Treasure Cruise era, Day 2 Dryden says. Graveyard strategy equals Yu-Gi-Oh! Ryan Murray says. And Kumori loves me. I love you too, Kumori. I love everybody. Lord Magicus, what do you think the ban announcement will be for Monday? So I also like the stream, neighbors. Thank you very much, Lord Magicus. Well, I assume that Lurrus is going to get banned in Vintage. I do not know exactly what's going to happen in Legacy. There's some chance they'll ban Lurrus. There's some chance they'll ban like one of the older problematic cards, something like Oko, Arkham's Astrolabe, or Veil of Summer, and they'll leave Lurrus because it is still the newer card. So it's not automatically clear that Lurrus is going to be banned in Legacy. And in Brawl, I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't pay attention to the format. I don't know. I don't look at the deck list. I don't play it. I don't have no idea. So like whatever's going to go on in Brawl is maybe they're going to unrestrict something. Like they have a different way of doing things in Brawl that I have no idea. But I'm pretty certain that like Lurrus is going to get banned in Vintage, and I am unsure. Either Lurrus is getting banned, or they're going to ban like Astrolabe, Veil of Summer, or Oko Thief of Crowns. Something's happening in Legacy. Something's happening. We all know that something's happening. Mikey J says, new foils like a bad alter of a regular card. Yeah, sure, sometimes. Yo, Handsome Dan. Yo. Lord Magicus says, there are 44 of you. It's actually there's 92 of you. 92 of you here, but only like 6 likes. I don't know. We're at 15 likes. Well, it's all good. Your presence is everything. Is all that I like. Your comments. That's the best way of liking the thing. But it's all good. Don't forget to like if you like the stream. You can always give a like. Oh, the likes are coming up. Oh, we got tons of likes. Boom. Ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. Oh, sipping on my delicious coffee. I hope everyone's enjoying a coffee or tea wherever you're from. I hope you're doing great. Power level ban in Vintage makes the core appeal of the format just dissolve. Oh yeah, of course. I mean that's why they restricted Chalice of the Void, because like that card undermines the point of the format. And I'm going to go into this. I just recorded a video that's going to go up later today, but like they might ban Arkham's Astrolabe because it also undermines the purpose of the or I would say the customs of the format. Like one of the customs of Legacy, for example, is Wasteland. That's always been a custom of Legacy. And a lot of people, even though I think Legacy is still playable with Arkham's Astrolabe, maybe you don't like how it is, but that was one of the customs that got ruined with Astrolabe. Maybe they will ban Astrolabe just to let Legacy live its customs. Like, I'm also in the opinion that Brainstorm could be banned. But everyone loves Brainstorm. It is a custom of the format. So I do agree that there are some cards you could ban because it goes against the customs of the format. Legacy really is, in some way, a community-based format. Like, literally, it's a community-based format. Same thing with, like how we see in Vintage. And now I think we are seeing this in even more prominently in Legacy. It's more of a community-based format than, like, I don't know, than a, like, razor-cut competitive format to get on the Pro Tour that Wizards needs to police for, I don't know, for their own needs. I don't know how to explain it, but bans should maybe come into play because it would make all the Legacy players happy. Yeah, exactly. Don't ban Brainstorm. Ben J, don't ban Brainstorm. Brainstorm is fine. Well, literally, Brainstorm is not fine, but everyone likes it. Everyone likes it. If they made Brainstorm legal in Modern, I mean, it'd be totally busted. I mean, it is totally busted in Legacy, in my opinion, but there's enough busted stuff that it all evens out. All right, let's get back to some questions. Cone Morris asks, what is the most fun matchup for you? Today? For me, against Grixis Death Shadow, it's always, how do I put it? So it's fun because A, it's a good matchup for me, so I'm gonna win. But B, you always have to think about it. You can't just like randomly play your cards. You have to be very careful about them like killing you for victory. So it's very important that you think about your decisions very carefully and beat them. So it's that in that way it's a lot of fun. You have to be prepared for the one-shot KO that they have for you. You're usually working on very little resources, and that's another interesting thing. No matter how much they rip apart my hand or kill my creatures, I seem to win anyway. So that's something I like. It's like they get to carry out their entire game plan 100%, no problem, and I still win. Like that puts a smile on my face. You did everything you want, and it still wasn't good enough. That's a big win in my book. Moro asks, do you think that competitive Magic events are going to move away from paper Magic into Magic the Gathering Online as time passes by? I only play paper Magic now, but I'm afraid it will not last more than another 10 years. I think paper Magic is going to be around basically for forever in some way or form. They might translate some of it online, and probably not on Magic the Gathering Online on Arena. Like that is their premier format they want to milk money from. Not to mention it looks gorgeous. Like it's the most engaging video game like platform that Magic has. So I think they're gonna move as much stuff on MTG Arena as not as much. They're gonna move as like they're already doing it. Like they're already moving a lot of their competitive events on Arena, but they can't get rid of the paper stuff because paper makes a lot of money. I don't think like that's like their core business and it's also their core asset. I think, for example, mental health issues because of lack of community are going to like continue to go up as time goes on because social media makes people feel more isolated. And the thing is, things like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, like Wizards of the Coast is becoming a more and more and more valuable asset to Hasbro because of things that you do in person. And they want to continue to do that because there is a need for that. And lucky for Hasbro, they already have a company that already like specializes in this product. But I think they are still going to compete for market share, you know, in that Hearthstone, League of Legends, StarCraft area as much as possible. So they're trying to get another. I don't think they don't want to kill off the market share that they have right now. They've got basically a monopoly on it. They're doing well. They make money. They're valuable to Hasbro. They're not going to touch it. But they, in addition to that, they want more digital space because it's just an area that they never were great at. Magic the Gathering Online like sucks in terms of like it's like a helicopter simulation of Magic. Like yeah, it's perfectly Magic, but it's not fun. It's not user friendly. It's very aggravating. I mean, there's a lot to learn. People who play it for the first time screw up left, right, and center over it, clicking through their turn and stuff like that. There's so many things to still be improved, and it's so slowly getting fixed. Or slowly reaching a point of like, I don't know, fun. There's like, if I had a graph of like fun on the y-axis and Magic on the x-axis, like we're like super far down here where it's super Magic, but it's not really fun. But it's Magic. And I use it to train myself. I use it like going to the gym. It's a really good way to hone your skills one way or another. But they use MTG Arena as a way of having fun, and it's just a different market that they're trying to get into because they have no real presence because Magic the Gathering Online couldn't cut into it. It had no chance. MTG Arena can, but they're not going to get rid of paper Magic because it is. They just can't. It is an asset to have. It's an asset to Wizards. It's an asset to Hasbro, and it is a long-term asset to their business model. And it's going to grow as time goes on. I mean, it still is doing really well. We can see it and feel it in the form of what's it called, Commander. Commander has exploded because this is a community in-person format. Like you can play Commander online, but no one really does that, you know what I mean? So anyway, I hope that like relieves some pressure or concerns that you have. I think we are going to see always in some shape or form competitive Magic and paper. Not to mention, I should also say, we competitive players are the ones that drive the prices of the booster boxes. If it wasn't for us, like the ponies, they just buy they love the commons and uncommons. Sure, they go after some rares and whatever, but for the most part, we're the ones who like need this mythic rare like right now, this next weekend, we have to buy it. And as the price of those staples, the rares and the mythics go up, the value of the box goes up, so distributors can easily sell them and the local game stores can sell them. Everyone wins. Without competitive players driving those prices up, it's harder to sell the product. You get what I mean? So the paper competitive scene is a very important aspect to the overall business model of Magic the Gathering. Let's see. Piotr asks or says, I've been trying Vine Shaper Mystic in my Historic Merfolk. What do you think about it? I think it's a bit too clunky for its effect. That's all I have to say about that. I just think it's a little bit too clunky. If there was like a really good way to abuse hardened scales in a Merfolk deck, maybe that thing could go off. But I think there's just better options at 3 mana. Brazen Borrower, what's it called? Kumena, Tyrant of Erazka, and Mare Regery. So there's just like really good cards that I can't play something like Vine Shaper Mystic. Scott Mays, one of the reasons I decided on Modern over Legacy for my Eternal format is it felt more balanced. I don't feel that way anymore. It sucks. Do you know what? This is just how Modern is. So if you've played Modern for the last 6 years, you've seen the times where sometimes it's balanced, sometimes it's not. This is not the first time it's happened. So for example, like when Treasure Cruise got printed, and like yeah, so like when Treasure Cruise got printed, it like wiped out like almost all the decks. It was like basically all that was left was like Treasure Cruise Burn, Blue-Red Delver, Birthing Pod, and some Twin, and then I don't know, sprinkles of everyone else. But it was basically those 4 archetypes. We don't even see it that bad today. It's not that bad. Even though that Lurrus is around, we still have like a good rich variety of Lurrus decks, and we even still see like a good number of non-Lurrus decks in the form of like Ad Nauseam, a little bit of Eldrazi Tron, Titan ramp decks, Amulet Titan, stuff like that. So there are still angles of winning right now without the companions, but it's more variety. You just have to understand that sometimes some cards will break the format, and you just got to wait it out. You either play while it's still around, or you just have to wait it out. But it's not the first time that this has happened. So if you've played Modern long enough, it just happens. Sometimes there are some cards that just carry away with the game. I have to admit though, when they printed Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, R&D admitted that at this point forward, we're not playtesting Modern, Legacy, and so on anymore. We're not printing cards for those formats. We are just focusing on Standard, and the consequence of that was that like bad stuff happened. And then after the Treasure Cruise era, we saw the Eldrazi Winter, and even more bad stuff happened. Which maybe wasn't too bad. All they had to do was ban Eye of Ugin, and then it basically resolved itself. But the fact that R&D like decided to completely ignore the Eternal formats is what caused some of these huge shakeups that required mass bannings. Like Treasure Cruise got banned, Dig Through Time got banned, Eye of Ugin got banned, and we are seeing that today, aren't we? We're seeing it again with the companions. They said we're only focusing on Standard. I could see after the Treasure Cruise era and after like after Eldrazi Winter, they decided to like pay attention to Modern a little bit. Like they toned down the cards to make sure like, okay, look, can this break Modern and Legacy? Because they got shook up really hard and people really love those formats. And they decided, okay, I think they made the decision to be a little bit more reserved in Standard, or just be conscious that these cards have very big detrimental effects in like Modern and Legacy. But again, they seem to go with the philosophy, let's ignore Modern and Legacy. We can't playtest these formats. Let's just build these cards for Standard. And it came with dire consequences, came with huge consequences, and now the companions. It's hard to say if the companions are the problem or if very specifically Lurrus is the problem, because I'm sort of looking at Lurrus right now like it's Smuggler's Copter. The vehicle idea is fine. Smuggler's Copter was the problem in Standard, and maybe Lurrus is just the problem overall. Like the card is ridiculously busted. It just focuses on cheap mana stuff all the time. So just understand that this is just the nature of the non-rotating formats. It's going to have moments of unbalance because it's impossible to keep it all balanced. Because you're constantly printing things, right? Like they're constantly printing something new and things get shaken up and some things get out of control. And it's just the nature of the non-rotating formats. If you want balance, I guess you got to play Commander, right? Or you got to play Standard when you have to play Standard when things are, for example, what's it called? Standard isn't. I want to say Standard is balanced, but honestly, it's not all the time. Standard is difficult to balance as well. But you know, they do their best. They do their best. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the topic. Let's move on. Call of Duty 1. Are you ever going to interview a Spirits Master? Well, there isn't one yet. So I don't know anyone who has committed themselves to Spirits. I like to interview people that play Spirits right now and are stuck to it. And I don't see that with... I know there are some Spirits players. Like I know, what's her name? Hellcat plays Spirits in Modern. But I prefer that it's people who are currently playing Spirits, currently making content on Spirits, because it's a double thing. Like they're in tune with the metagame with their deck, and they can offer advice. And I'd love to send people to them for more advice. So I just don't see that person right now. But if there is someone who's currently playing Spirits and making content for it, DM me and maybe we can set something up. Because that was what all my other masters all had in common. They played it, or at least made content for it on a very regular basis. Lord Magicus says, I had an E-Tron player that cast Chalice X equals 6 to turn off an Elspeth Suns champion. Ridiculous. Matthew Pearson, good day to you, sir. Will you ever bring back wacky Merfolk Tuesday, so Troll Tuesday? So I decided with this channel, I was going to significantly reduce the troll content, and I want to make just a little bit more competitive content, because I think that's how I become valuable to all of you, that I'm making competitive stuff. Because like the troll stuff got received pretty well, but I don't think it was something my community desperately needed. There's a lot of troll content out there. A lot of people are making that stuff. So I'm just gonna let all the other people, all the other streamers, YouTubers, stick with the troll content. I'm just going to be sticking to the competitive stuff, because I think that's where I mean, I understand, I can win with some of that troll stuff, so that's what makes it extra hilarious. But I think I'm more valuable to my community if I am sticking to more competitive stuff over like the troll stuff. It's because I don't think there's enough competitive content out there. Oh, where's my power? I just realized my power cord wasn't on. So I don't think there's enough competitive content out there. Like, for example, these conversations that we're having right now, no one's having them. I got 110 people here because people are hungry for this sort of conversation at a competitive level. And that's what I wanted. I just want to spend more my time doing that instead of the troll content, because anything that I do is taking up the place of something else. So that's basically what I'm going to do. Maybe once in a blue moon we'll do that, but not on it couldn't be like on a regular basis, because I was making troll content like once a week. That ends up being a lot of time, taking a lot of time, like playing, editing, making thumbnails and stuff like that. I could make a lot more discussion videos. I could be doing this with all of you, and I think that's how I can spend my time more valuably for everybody. Joe Graves, if you were to ban something from Neobrand, what would it be? Allosaurus Rider totally shuts off the deck. Simian Spirit Guide shuts off turn 1 wins, but hurts other decks. Truth be told, I think if you ban something, you just ban the deck. You get rid of Allosaurus Rider, and then that's it. If Neobrand comes to a point where it's a problem, then it just doesn't deserve to exist. It breaks all sort of former rules that Modern had. You're not supposed to win on turn 1 or turn 2, so it's pretty ridiculous. I guess what helps, it just so happens that Force of Negation probably keeps this deck in check, because it folds so often to some hate card. You play Grafdigger's Cage, that puts it in a really tough spot. You play Force Negation, that puts it in a really tough spot. So they're forced to have like combo plus answer. It's really hard. It is difficult for them to have so many cards in their hand. You need an X number of lands to get something in play. You need Neoform in hand. You need 2 green cards for the Allosaurus Rider. Then you need you need a lot of cards to really go off. And sometimes waiting isn't going to do it. But for some reason, like, this deck doesn't take over. It just can't beat the hate. Force Negation too strong. Relic of Progenitus, sorry, not Relic of Progenitus. Grafdigger's Cage too strong. What else too strong? I don't know. It's just there's enough hate cards for it that has not taken over. There are some niche finishes, but it's just a fair deck in the grand scheme of things. But the day it's oppressive is the day you have to just get rid of the whole damn thing, in my opinion. I don't know why you have to let it exist. I think, and it's a really stupid deck to buy into. People will buy into the entire deck, and then and then their entire investment is done for. I think it's very risky to buy into the deck, period, right now. Smirk, McLurkin, Eldrazi with Temple without Tron can compete with hyper-aggressive decks. Yes, I do believe so. Eldrazi, Temple, City of Traders in Modern, super OP, super OP. Turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer, period, is just a really powerful play. It comes down early enough, especially on the play, to disrupt like millions of different decks. Millions of different decks. What do we got? What do we got here? Kaiserino chimes in that Eldrazi-Tron is the best positioned deck if Lurrus is banned. I would agree. I would agree. I think, or is one of them. Probably, I mean, if Lurrus is banned, probably we go back to the position where I think banned control is still number 1, but I would put Eldrazi-Tron number 2. It's very, very strong. Super, super strong deck. If anyone's thinking about getting into Eldrazi-Tron, probably not. Now's the time to buy it. If that, assuming the price is going down. I don't actually know if the prices are going down on Eldrazi-Tron. What if Kamena Speaker was like Wild Nikachu, where the buffs are individual? Would love it. Oh my god, if we could have a 3/3 creature by itself and pump it up with the Lord of Atlantis, so we in theory could have a 4/4 on turn 2. The beautiful. Give it to me, Wizards. Give it to me. I don't know how you give it, like, because the thing is, like, what color do we, is it like hybrid blue-green, and then if you have an island in play, it gets +1/+1. If you have a forest in play, it gets +1/+1. Because Wild Nikachu required 3 mana. You need, like, the forest to get it in play, but then you need a plains and a mountain to buff it up. So it's like a little awkward, or is it, no, it's like a little awkward. I don't know how you design it, because if you like pay a blue, it automatically gets like +1/+1, unless it was like Botanical Sanctum or something. So you really need the island in play. Good morning, Monster. Good morning to everyone who's joining us. I'm enjoying my coffee. I hope everyone else is enjoying their coffee. Morning, y'all. Morning, y'all. Y'all take care of yourselves, y'all. Lurrus for hardened scales is so dumb. Yeah. I think, I will say this about the companions. I think Lurrus showed some innovation that's going to stick around after Lurrus gets banned. I think hardened scales is going to be a deck in Modern after Lurrus gets banned. I think the Ozolith is a great... First off, I don't think hardened scales was unplayable after Opal got banned. I think just people just, as it usually is, Gitaxian Probe gets banned, so oh, Storm is no good anymore. Oh, Infect is no good anymore. Oh, Death Shadow is not good anymore. And then you see it bounce back. You see Death Shadow bounce back in a big way that completely took over Modern, and even today is still a presence after Gitaxian Probe got banned. You see Storm innovated immediately after Gitaxian Probe got banned with like Gift Storm, which was a huge presence in Modern up until recently. So I think that Lurrus encouraging hardened scales to try new things and get the Ozolith in is going to, it's going to enable this archetype after Lurrus gets banned. And I don't know how strong the deck is going to be, but it's going to have some presence. I mean, of course, it's probably going to still get, I don't know how well, like the thing is, I think the Ozolith gets around Karn the Great Creator because it's not an activated ability. So as your creatures die, you can just move things from the Ozolith and then to other creatures. So it gets around Karn the Great Creator a little bit. So I think it is going to be, I think the fact that Lurrus or the Companions existed has maybe shaped how people view their decks now and forced some innovation that's going to stick around in Modern even after Lurrus gets banned. Be curious to know what other decks got innovated in the meantime. Can't think right now what other decks have improved, but you know, stuff like that. Cone Morris says Magic operates in cycles of artifacts, graveyards, and everything else. What causes this? I understand the power of graveyard because of card selection, but why are artifacts so inherently busted? Mostly because like artifacts inherently are cheap. Like that's the idea. Like artifacts are generally cheap. or they have some like stupid ability attached to it. So always, there's just so many cheap artifacts, and then eventually some artifact deck can be built for so little, where the casting cost of the cards are 0, or 1, or 2. Basically, the curve of artifacts are so little, and then there's some enabler that takes all this piddly crap and makes it OP. So that's basically my answer to that. Tim Goya says, Soul Guide Lantern is also nice because popping it to clear graveyards doesn't take a mana. Yes, I forgot about that actually. Yes, that's actually true. TuxDev reminded me that it's very good for that fact, because you immediately... Yeah, Nikachu says, please print more 0 mana spells. No, we want less 0 mana spells. We need less 0 mana spells. Like, that's the problem with that. That's why we got the poster. You'll be terrible in a merfolk, then they're all great swimmers. Oh yes, the school will swim way faster than me. Jaskinia. All right, so let's get through 3 more questions. We're coming up on the hour. Handsome Dan says, if you ever end up in New Jersey around summer, I'll take you surfing and you can master the waves. Thank you. I need the pony instruction in order to master anyway. I'm not really a master of waves. I wield the master of waves, but I am most definitely not the master of waves. I am the master of sitting inside and watching waves. Watching waves happen. Niels asks, will we ever see zombies in the modern metagame? Someone's got to try to make it happen. I think there's a lot of good black cards out there. I think Vampires has a lot more to work with, but I think like Zombies has already like a Lord. Zombies has a few Lords. Zombies has stuff working for it, but someone has to make it happen. I think Zombies has I think Mono Black has a lot to offer. You know, not to mention, I think there is some incentive anywhere at any time in Modern to build a Cavern of Souls deck, or a deck that can utilize Cavern of Souls to just have uncounterable creatures. Because if you automatically can dodge a bunch of counter spells, you're like way ahead of the game. So, because you beat Chalice of the Void, you beat things like Mana Leak, Spell Snare, and Logic Knot, and all that, Cryptic Command, and all that other crap. And especially today, with so much Cryptic Command looping through Snapcaster Cryptic, bounce your Mystical Sanctuary, replay it, get the Cryptic back. Trying to beat counterspells actually is important in 2020. So Zombies, the fact that they can play Cavern of Souls already gets like a pretty good bonus. But it will require serious playtesting. It requires somebody to just grind the deck, to find the nuanced differences, like what is important for the Zombies deck. For like at 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. Should it be an Aether Vial deck? Should it not? Probably it should. And because I think there's a lot to work with there. But someone good has to work on the deck, is what I'm saying. Like Tom Ross has worked on a lot of decks to make them very strong. He's worked on the Rack. So like one day the Rack is just this fringe trash. The other day, Tom Ross makes the top 8 with 8 Rack. And what did he do? He took out Ensnaring Bridge. Why? Because he realized it's just a win more card. It's not actually what you need to actually win the game with. He was a good enough player to realize this is the weak link. Let's get rid of it. Let's add more like Liliana the Veils and just more useful cards to our strategy and make this deck good. And he's made several top 8s with 8 Rack before, because he is the caliber of player that can find the nuanced differences between all of these cards, like in the deck. And that's basically, we need someone like that for Zombies. I genuinely believe there's a lot of innovation to be had in Modern. I genuinely believe that. There are archetypes that spur up out of nowhere. I think decks like Lantern Control and Amulet Titan and Humans in some way spurred up out of nowhere. I mean, I know people have been were working on Humans for months, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I can't be 100% sure that Magic Aids was the literal source for this, but he certainly popularized the 5-color vial version, and all of a sudden it actually just ended up working very well. And so that was found. What else? I think out of nowhere, Living End was a deck that was found. I'm trying to think anything of recency that was discovered. I think out of nowhere Eldrazi Tron was found, because no one was really working on a Tron version for a very long time until the Eldrazi Tron deck was found, and now that's like a core deck. Everyone was looking at Bant Eldrazi for a very, very long time. Bant Eldrazi was like the Tron deck for a very long time. Also, yeah, Lord Magicus worked. Lord Magicus says Tom Ross was the first person who worked on Infect, and basically he said that once Birthing Pod got banned, that was the moment for Infect. So, and Infect actually was also a deck that was like tier 3 for the longest time. And he, after Birthing Pod got banned and Malira, which basically says you can't get poison counters, once that thing was out of the equation, Infect became super, super popular, and he convinced a lot of pro players to pick it up, and it ended up being a very good deck on the Pro Tour. So there's a lot to work with in Modern, and maybe it's not all tier 1, maybe it's tier 2, but still playable, can win tournaments, but it still needs the right mind and someone to work on the deck, take the time. And a lot of good players, they don't like to take the time to work on a deck. They just want to play, okay, this is tier 1. Of all the tier 1 options, which one am I going to play to win the tournament? They're not interested. Not everyone's an innovator. Not everyone's a Zach Elsick who turns Lantern Control into a tier 1 archetype. Because if it wasn't for Zach Elsick, that Lantern Control deck never would have seen the light of day. No one would have found it. Great question. If you like this sort of stuff, don't forget to give a like. Also, Handsome Dan wants to remind everyone that if you like this stuff, you can always support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/Nikachu MTG if you like this daily stuff. You can also support with super chats. Just throw out a super chat and I will give that priority over everything else. Pelly asks, is Azorius Merfolk playable? Absolutely. It might even be the best Merfolk deck right now because of Lurrus. I don't know how playable it will be after Lurrus gets banned, but I don't know how well Blue-White Merfolk is going to be after Lurrus gets banned, because like the thing is, if you want to play Lurrus and Merfolk, it's got to be either black-white, or sorry, it's got to be black or white. You got to splash. Now if you go black, you gotta add like Watery Grave, Fetch Lands. The best you have is Dark Slick Shores, but there are no other options. You're gonna take pain. You're gonna feel the pain to add Lurrus. Whereas with white, we have Wanderwine Hub and Seachrome Coast, so those are two painless lands that we can use to splash. And so it's a very easy to splash the what's it called? It's very easy to splash painlessly the white mana for Modern Merfolk and take advantage of Lurrus in that deck. So right now I think Azorius Merfolk might be the best version of Merfolk at the moment, especially if you want to play with Lurrus right now. Yeah, so I think it's very, very good. And Noman, I saw your question, do I offer coaching? I do have a coaching tier on Patreon, so you can check that out. So I do offer coaching, although you don't need to be a patron on Patreon. You can just DM me and we can set something up. That's not a problem either. Just DM me on Twitter, Facebook, because I take PayPal. So I do coaching. What else do we got? Okay, so we got one more question for today. Okay, this won't be the question, but when is Magnus Carlsen going to lose his title? That's a chess question. If anyone doesn't know that, what's it called? Magnus Carlsen is currently the world chess champion. My opinion on this, I think Magnus Carlsen is living on borrowed time because he is getting more and more nervous for every world championship he plays in. And like I thought he was going to lose it against Caruana, because I know that guy's hungry, he wants to win, and he's a very strong player, and he has beaten Magnus in the past. Like the fact that Magnus Carlsen dropped a game against Sergei Karyakin in one of the world championship matches just shows that Carlsen is very shaken up playing these world champions. He's very calm, comfortable, and proactive when it comes to tournament play, but when it comes to the world championship, he's very scared, he's very reserved. He's waiting to lose, in my opinion. He is waiting to lose, but still, he's still Magnus Carlsen, and somehow he has defended his title time and time again. So, but my money was bet on the last world championship match, and and I was wrong. So maybe it's gonna be next time, because he's still the best player. He's still the best player in the world. So it's still tough. I won't really make this the question. Is Mind Break Trap sideable? I mean, anything is sideable. Daniel Company, and basically anything is sideable. Overall though, for Merfolk, I don't really like this card. I think it is just too narrow, too situational, not for my taste. We have better card. I just think there are better cards for like the Merfolk sideboard. Unless you were talking about some other archetype. Scott Mays. Okay. I know you've beaten this dead horse a million times, but does Loris see a ban maybe on the 18th? So like, well, I mean, I said a little bit earlier, we're definitely seeing a ban in Vintage. Like they said, like the what's it called? The Wizards of the Coast said what formats are getting bans: Vintage, Legacy, and Brawl. So not Pioneer or Modern. So we're not seeing Loris banned in Modern. Period. We have to suck it up and then live through it for, I don't know, for whatever. We have to, what's it called? Yeah, we have to wait. We have to we have to wait. But the it's probably gonna see abandoned Vintage. I just don't know about Legacy because there's 3 other problems in Legacy. There's Arkham's Astrolabe, Veil of Summer, and also what's it called? Arkham's Astrolabe and Oko Thief of Crowns. So that's all I have to say. They might ban Loris, they might not. I'm gonna go with one more question because I already sort of answered that question earlier today. Let's see. Looking for a question. Great questions overall today. We had a lot of really good conversation. I really enjoy it. If you like the conversation, let me know. I do read some of these comments afterwards. Let's see. Free top? Oh, come on. What, Sensei's Divining Top, Tuckstep? That's ridiculous. Kyoka66, do I have a Twitch page for us to follow at the moment? Yes, just go look up twitch.com/Nikachu MTG. I think I show up there. I've got like almost 40 followers. Like we're gonna, by the way, everyone, we're moving this to Twitch when I get Twitch set up. Like when I get my new computer set up, this whole thing is moving to Twitch. And hopefully it's gonna take like a new dimension. I hope to do, we're gonna have some fun stuff. So we are definitely gonna move this in a new, we're gonna move it over to that platform only because like that is where I'm gonna wanna grow my streaming, and plus like they want, it's the only way I can get to partner, you know? If I'm gonna spend some hours here, I might as well spend some hours on Twitch helping myself get those metrics up. And we're doing great, by the way. We got like over 100 people here today. It was very good. Good morning, Hunter. Yeah, we're gonna definitely move to Twitch. So you are gonna want to be subscribed or following me on Twitch for when it happens. Hopefully most of you that are on YouTube also go to Twitch sometimes. And if you'd like to be part of this conversation, you know, send me the questions. No problem. All right, here's the last question. This is going to be a great question. I only read three words. How much you? But I know this is going to be a great question. LSVRDNT says, how much you recommend playing Magic the Gathering online? Been thinking of it a lot. It's a bad thing that Planeswalker points cease to exist at all. I highly recommend playing Magic the Gathering online if you are the type of person that plays competitively and you want to learn your deck and you want to learn the metagame and you want to get ahead of the metagame. The metagame is defined more or less for big events. The metagame is defined by what's going online. So if certain decks are winning online, people in paper are going to follow that, and the winning players are going to copy what's going online into the paper Magic for like in big events like Magic Fest, for example. What's it called? So if you want to get ahead of the game, if you're only practicing at your local game store and you were planning to go to a Magic Fest in the future, like a big event, you're going to play in the main event, you're going to want to play online to get an idea of what to expect, to see how well your deck is going to perform against them. Because how your deck performs at your local game store is going to be completely different to how it's going to be played at a big open event competitive level, because those players are training online and they've already grinded their deck against other good decks, so they're confident that deck is going to work. And surely on day one of a Grand Prix, you could play against anything, but eventually if you are if you're fortunate enough to make day two, because it does require some luck, you are going to be up against really tough players playing the best decks of the format at the time, and you're gonna be prepared if you're playing on Magic the Gathering Online. Magic the Gathering Online, in general, especially if you play in the more competitive events like the preliminaries and the modern challenges, you're playing against tough people. If you can beat those players, you are prepared, you are ready. If you can average at least 3-2 in leagues or better, then you are super prepared. And you know that your list can compete with, like, said metagame. So, and on top of that, like, how can I put it? Even if you could play in paper right now, the fact that people are playing so many of the companion decks online suggests, like, these companion decks are strong and you will be prepared for those companion decks, whereas the people at your local game store are not. It's less likely that people are going to be jamming companions immediately. Paper does, can follow online results relatively quickly these days, but still it has some lag, and you're, again, like, the best, a lot of really good players play online on a regular basis, and it's a really good place to sharpen your skills. If you're just looking for fun, it's not a fun environment. I will admit that. It's a good place to learn. It's a good place to learn your deck. If you don't need the community aspect of Magic in your life and you just want to play Magic, it's going to be perfectly fine. It's the best place to play Modern. It's the best place to play, it's the best place to play Modern and Legacy, and I guess Vintage. I really can't speak for the Vintage community. I'm talking about in a digital form. So yeah, that's what I would say. So anyway, so thank you very much for the questions. Questions were great. Thank you very much. It's awesome. Again, if you want to support the channel, you can leave something on Patreon, or I don't know. When we get to Twitch, you'll know how to subscribe to me. You'll know how to subscribe to me. Today was a great day. I love the questions. Thank you very much for all your questions, comments, concerns. The conversation was great today. Had a lot of high energy, a lot of interesting, unique questions as well. Oh, you do? Oh, Wesso, yeah, this the patented Nikachu cup. If you got the one with Nikachu MTG on it, that's like a special edition cup. I think in the few days I'm going to be removing this. We're just going to have the logo, and I'm going to, in some ways, improve the cup. But you got like a limited edition, or I would say first edition version of the cup. You can get also this thing on Teespring. You can't go to teespring.com Nikachu MTG. I think you got to Google something like Nikachu MTG Teespring, maybe look up Bunny as well, and it'll show up. So thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Handsome Dan. Thank you. Who are we thanking here? Oh my God, so many questions here. Thanks to thanks to all of you. Thank you all for showing up today, and we're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna do this earlier tomorrow. I think we got to do this earlier tomorrow. We're gonna do it at 8 o'clock. Central Standard Time. This is not going to be, I don't think I have time at 10 o'clock, so that's going to be an exception. We're going to be a little bit earlier in the morning for Coffee and MTG with Nikachu, because I have some other stuff to do in the afternoon and evening. So 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. I'll try to leave a notice on Twitter and Facebook for everyone who is interested, and I'll see you there. I hope to see you there. Hope to see everybody. Catch you there. So thank you very much for hanging out. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.